This is something that came out of what another teacher and I did last year, where we had two classes of comparable ages and we worked together all year on various projects. And then we went on Zoom because of Corona. We were trying to figure out what could we do that would be combining us still, even though we couldn't be in person together. And we came up with the idea of once a week read alouds. And we started the year with the Jacqueline Woodson book, The Day You Begin, which is about how everybody feels alone and different, but everybody has things in common, and how everybody's differences are the things that create the things in common. We continued reading things that connected either to what we were doing in my class or what we were doing in Miss Anastasia's class, and looking for places where we had overlap. And one of the big places we had overlap was we were doing a lot of work with Native American tribes and their stories, and her class was doing a lot of work with astronomy, and our class was also doing work with practical science. So like everybody knows that there are 365 days in a year, but what does that mean and why is that? Everybody knows that the Earth spins around, but what is that actually? So it was taking all that book knowledge they had and putting it into practical situations. And so the combination of their astronomy, our world's astronomy, and the Native American stories that both groups were doing kind of lent itself to doing a whole series of Native American star stories, because we have this Greek, specifically European, but Greek perspective. We tell the stories the ancient Greeks told, and those are our constellations, and those are the scientific names of the stars, but people all over the world have talked about the stars and used the stars. And so when Kapiolani came to our class, she talked about what the Greeks called Scorpio as being Maui's hook, and how it connects the northern and southern hemispheres. The Diné, the Navajo, they have a story similar to the Greeks that explains why Scorpio and Orion are never in the sky at the same time. They're sort of chasing each other. And so completely different stories, but it both describes the same natural phenomena. And so we had a really good time looking at the stories and comparing. And we have a book of Diné astronomy that deliberately sets out to compare from the Navajo point of view the Greek and the Navajo stories, which was just a lot of fun to do. One of the really interesting things that we started doing at the kids' instigation was sharing holidays. So students would bring in different holidays that they were celebrating, and we had students sharing a dance for Diwali and sharing their traditions for Diwali. We talked about Purim, we talked about Easter, we talked about Passover. We did a literary analysis actually about topic sentences and supporting details, where we read about the Mid-Autumn Festival and how that celebrated different ways. This picture that you were looking at was actually done by a parent 3 years ago when she came in to talk about how her family celebrated the Mid-Autumn Festival, and different people in different Asian countries celebrate it differently. And so we started that this year, and a lot of our social studies is interwoven with literacy. So as I said, we were topic sentence supporting details, and then there were a couple of topic sentences that I deliberately left out supporting details, and we talked about what makes a paragraph. So that was kind of how we started off the discussion of holidays this year, and we've continued it, and so that was just a natural outgrowth that Anastasia's class joined into with us.